Could you describe the key responsibilities and challenges of managing a women's football team?
Yeah, so obviously, setting up training, setting up the team for a match day, but you also have to make sure that everyone's fit, everyone's happy, everyone's getting the right minutes. When it comes to just player safety as well, you have to make sure everyone's the right ages and everyone's within the right contacts. So, players under 18, we have to have the parents' numbers rather than their own for safety. Even when it comes to just setting up training sessions, you have to make sure everyone's involved and everyone's doing something. And you hope that everyone's learning something. It's quite an in-depth process that there's a lot to, but it's once you get the hang of it, it's quite natural to you.
How do you approach building and maintaining team morale and unity within the squad?
A lot of it can be from like player socials, going out after a game or after training, or just making sure everyone is happy within the squad, everyone's getting the right minutes, so that you don't have anyone who's kind of saying bad words behind the rest of the squad or anything like that. I mean, for me personally, I love when everyone's on the same page and you can explain to them before training what the idea of training is, or before the season what kind of style of play you want. If everyone's on the same page, it makes the coach's job a lot easier. And I think especially as well in terms of mentality, if you know everyone wants to win, and if you want to win, you know that they're going to get behind you and you can get behind them. And if you support them, they'll support you, and it goes hand in hand.
What are the major differences, if any, in coaching women's football compared to men's football? And how do you adapt your coaching style accordingly?
I think with the men's side, having worked in that at open age, 16 plus football, they're far more competitive amongst each other. There's a lot less of, if somebody makes a mistake, it's a lot less, it's okay, it's more, up your standards, get on the right track. It's everyone has their own different ways of dealing with things, and there's no kind of set mentality amongst the squad. Some people need a bit of a kick up the back, and some people need an arm around the shoulder, whereas within the women's, personally, I noticed that a lot of them prefer having an arm around the shoulder, kind of just across the board. I've never really experienced a women's player who's needed to be told that they're doing something wrong in order to get the best of them, whereas in the men's, you can tell a player what they're doing wrong and they'll take it on the chin and they'll see it as feedback and a positive for them as a way to improve, rather than purely just it's being told that they've done something wrong. And it tends to lead to completely different results in the women's football, where if you tell somebody they're doing something wrong, they'll drop their heads more often than not.
In your experience, how does the relationship between the coaching staff and players contribute to the team success?
I think massively. I think in the men's game in particular, I had quite a good run at the end of my first season there. I think we won 9 of our last 11 or 12 games, whatever it was. It was quite a good run, and everyone was together. We'd had quite a good bond. We'd speak before and after the games and the warm-ups and trainings, and it was always just very good vibes. We had a really strong relationship, and those guys knew that I wanted to win as much as they did. And if they had an issue, they could come and speak to myself or the other coaches there. And we addressed it as it was. I think with the women's, having worked for a lot less time than the men's, it's kind of hard to tell. And with the squad that I had, we weren't exactly successful or very competitive amongst the league, but there was still that mentality of if we're together, we will be successful, and relationships started developing. And I think one of the key things that was more difficult for me was being, the only male in the squad and the coaching staff amongst the women's team. It was all, I was coaching alongside other women, I was coaching women obviously, so it's very different for me to try and fit in, because it's a very different just style of relationship. I think I was a lot more professional maybe than I should have been. I could have been a little bit more relaxed in that sense, but it's a very different style. I think men and men work well together, and women and men work well, or women and women work well together. And it's trying to merge the two is a very difficult balance to find.